It just never stops raining here, Fiona complained to her mother, as if she could somehow fix the weather.
I don't remember a single day this entire year when it didn't rain, Fiona's mother, Mary McAllister, gazed out through the CAF window. They were sitting inside McDonie's tea room, a quaint little CAF with a wooden sign that simply read tea room.
Outside, the greenery spread around the place was calming to the eyes.
Mary took a deep breath and said, Fiona, if you like this place, then why do you complain so much? Can you find evergreen shrubs like those with pink flowers anywhere else? She got up from her chair and pointed down the lane at the blooming rhododendrons.
Please sit down. The waitress is bringing our tea, Fiona said, a little irritated, finding it odd that her mother stood up just to point at a plant.
Mary sat down again as the waitress placed 2 steaming cups of English tea on their table.
Thanks, Flora,
Fiona said cheerfully to the waitress, then turned to her MOM with an exasperated tone. That's all fine, but I get really bored. It's just rain, rain, and more rain.
I can't do anything in this weather. She took a sip of tea and bit into a buttered scone.
After a moment, she reached out and pulled toward her the jar of McDonie's homemade orange marmalade.
Mary dabbed her lips with a napkin and said, You won't find the flavor of this marmalade and these scones even in a big city.
I've spent my whole life not too far from here in Gaeltay, and look, I'm happy and healthy.
You'll be happy here too.
Fiona stared out at the sky, watching the rain pour down in heavy, unrelenting drops. Don't get me wrong, MOM. I do like living in Gaeltay, she said.
But in such a small place, everyone knows everyone. Everyone's somehow related. If I lived in a big city, I could meet new people.
She took another bite of scone.
Look around. It's just the 2 of us here.
It gets so dull, MOM. Just then, a woman stopped outside the tea house, her face hidden beneath the dark umbrella.
As she closed it and stepped inside, Mary recognized her instantly.
Nellie McAllister Crawford walked in. Good day to you, Fiona. And to you too, Mary, she greeted. If you don't mind, may I sit with you? Of course, Mary said with a smile, pulling out a 3rd chair.
Nellie leaned her umbrella against the table and draped her raincoat over the back of the chair. Once seated, she ordered hot tea and a small loaf of bread.
When the tea arrived, she leaned toward Fiona and said, The small loaves here are nice, but not nearly as good as the ones I bake. Fiona laughed.
I know they're not.
While nibbling on the bread, Nellie asked, How have you been feeling lately, Fiona?
Before Fiona could respond, Mary interrupted. Fiona's tired of the constant rain here. She's thinking of moving to a bigger city. Nellie looked surprised. Yes, we've all felt like that from time to time.
But eventually, time passes and you learn to love it again.
I've traveled a lot, and every time I returned to Gaeltay, I felt immense peace.
Fiona's eyes lit up.
You've traveled a lot.
Have you ever been to Africa, Australia, or America? Sadly, no, Nellie replied.
I was a school teacher most of my life and couldn't travel much.
But after my dear husband Gavin passed away, I did travel quite a bit.
I've seen most of the UK, even visited Ireland.
But no, never Africa.
I did, however, visit Cornwall many times to see my sister Penelope.
But your grandparents, Fiona, they travelled to those places.
She looked at Mary, whose face darkened slightly at the memory.
I'm sorry, Nellie quickly added.
Mentioning Ian and Heather must bring back painful memories.
It's all right, Nellie.
It's been years since they passed in that boating accident, Mary said softly.
They both loved to travel.
MOM always said her favorite place was Egypt, while Dad loved South Africa. For the next hour, Nellie and Mary chatted away about all sorts of topics so much that Fiona grew bored.
Her father had died in an accident 5 years ago, and the conversation turned her thoughts inward.
Suddenly, she asked, MOM, where are all your relatives?
I know about Nana and Grandpa, but what about the rest of your family?
All our family here is on Dad's side.
When will I meet your cousins? Someday, Mary replied, finishing her now cold tea just the way she liked it. She could tell Fiona was restless. Looks like the rain has stopped.
She stood up and looked outside. The rain had indeed let up. She paid the bill and said goodbye to Nellie. Then, she and Fiona stepped outside.
Smell that fresh air,
Mary exclaimed.
Tourists travel from far and wide just to fish in our rivers and lakes, or hike our flower-covered mountains.
She took a deep breath of the fragrant highland air. Just look at the river Tay full of trout, and when sunlight hits the water, it looks like pearls floating downstream.
And remember how many times you've swum in Loch Droll or gone fishing. You love it here.
They had stopped on Dandelion Bridge, watching the flowing River Tay below.
Mary continued. They say this bridge has stood for 700 years. It was supposedly built around the time Castle Azar was constructed.
But I doubt that story, it can't be that old. Fiona didn't comment on the age of the bridge. She just said, all I know is, the beauty here is unmatched.
She looked off toward the distant Loch Ness.
Dotted across the lake were tiny islands, covered with oak, birch, pine, and sycamore bursts of color all around.
Fiona, listen to those birds. Have you ever heard such sweet singing?
Mary was lost in their melody.
Fiona laughed. Don't worry, MOM.
I agree Gaeltay is the best place to live. The two of them strolled along the riverbank, hand in hand.
Fiona's gaze landed on a distant island with ancient ruins.
MOM, have you ever been to Castle Azar? Mary looked at the old structure and replied, You know, the village of Scarabray on that island is said to be nearly 6,000 years old.
There's something strange about Castle Azar.
I've always been afraid to go inside it. Ever since we moved here, I've never stepped foot in there, and I don't want you going either. It's a mysterious place.
Best to stay away. Fiona said nothing for a while.
Then, she suddenly remembered. MOM, I forgot to tell you some friends are coming over soon. One of them is Jobran. He's originally from Pakistan and lives in the next village with his parents.
His cousin is visiting from Pakistan, and I invited them over.
That's wonderful, Fiona, Mary said, visibly pleased.
I'm so glad you've made new friends here.
MOM, can you prepare something for the guests?
Fiona asked sweetly.
Mary smiled. Of course. We'll stop by McEwen's butcher on the way.
Actually, they're probably almost there already.
I'll head home while you do the shopping,
Fiona said, gently patting her mother's hand.
All right then, Mary replied with a nod. Fiona smiled and walked off quickly toward home. To be continued. Stay tuned for the next episode.
If you enjoyed the story, don't forget to subscribe and share the video.